I want to break down really quickly. Can you stay? Do you have to go?
I can stay for a little bit, yeah.
So I want to break this down real quickly about the gas attacks. Just to show you, it's very easy to debunk the gas attacks, which is why they'll never do it on MSNBC. Here it is. So the first gas attack, remember Barack Obama wanted to bomb Syria because they did gas attacks. And, well, here's from the Daily Mail. UN accuses Syrian rebels of carrying out sarin gas attacks, which had been blamed on Assad's troops. And if you look at the date, May 7, 2013. So that was right after the first. Isn't it amazing all the gas attacks happen right around this time of the year? So that's from the Daily Mail. And if you read down, it says Carla Del Ponte said the UN Commission investigating war crimes in Syria has strong, concrete suspicions that rebels used chemical weapons.
I love that sentence. Strong, concrete suspicions. Suspicions just negated those two other things.
That concretes, yeah.
Yeah. Concrete means 100% definite.
Yes.
And then after that you put suspicion.
Suspicions.
So that means they're definitely suspicious.
They're definitely suspicious.
That's all that means.
She says her remarks contradict statements by the U.S. and U.K., which said intelligence indicated Syrian soldiers used the weapons. Today, fighting continued across Syria's rebels advanced on a northern air base and shot down a helicopter in the east. So when they say rebels, they mean al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS. That's who the rebels are. Here's from the Telegraph, same story. UN accuses Syrian rebels of chemical weapon use. Syrian rebels have made use of a deadly nerve agent sarin in their war-torn country's conflict, UN human rights investigator Carla Della Ponte said. A senior United Nations official has claimed the Syrian rebels may have used chemical weapons. Carla Della Ponte, there it is. Our investigators have been in neighboring countries interviewing victims, doctors, and field hospitals, and there are strong concrete suspicions, there's that term, but not yet incontrovertible proof of the use of sarin gas, said Del Ponte. This was use on the part of the opposition, the rebels, not by the government authorities. So there you go. So that's the first gas attack. We got rid of that one. And here's Stephen Colbert talking with Madeleine Albright about that gas attack. Do you want to see something? Here's Stephen Colbert, who used to do one of the most brilliant comedy satirical shows in the history of comedy. And he quit it so he could do a less inspired, more of a bullshit entertainment show, and he misleads the country on a nightly basis, and it breaks my heart to see it. So here he is with Madeleine Albright. Now, if you don't know who Madeleine Albright is, here she is being asked about, after we invaded Iraq the first time, killed all those people for oil, then we put sanctions on them, which kept medicine away from sick people inside Iraq, and here's what she's asked about that.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima.
We killed 500,000 kids in Iraq. We did that by our sanctions. And now we're supposed to start World War III over 60 people being gassed in Syria? Double CK. Here we go. Watch the question. Here we go. I'll start it at the top.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
Just to add one thing, we also did Hiroshima.
Oh, by the way, we also did Hiroshima.
The way it's, if you just watch it by the clip, you might think, oh, someone else must have done Hiroshima. That couldn't have been us. Yeah, that was us too. We're the only ones to ever use nukes. Yeah.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point. All right, here we go. So, and now here she is on with Stephen Colbert. Here we go. Get ready to have your heart broken.
First time this happened, Barack Obama did not use military action against Assad's regime.
The first time this happened, that's Stephen Colbert telling you a lie on national television. Instead of debunking lies and using comedy to illuminate a greater truth, he has now decided to give you an already debunked talking point. That didn't happen. And he just says it as fact. That's why the news media sucks so bad, and that's why the media sucks so bad. They just uncritical, unskeptical. He did a news show at the time this happened. You don't think Stephen Colbert knows that that first gas attack was bullshit and the second gas attack was bullshit and that this third gas attack we decided to bomb before we had an investigation? He knows all that. He knows all that. So you tell me why he's bullshitting you right now. Because he's not lying to the Russians. He's not lying to the terrorists. He's not lying to anybody except you, America. That's who he's lying when he says that.
First time this happened, Barack Obama did not use military action against Assad's regime. Do you think he's right about that?
No, I don't. I mean, I do wish Barack Obama did put down a red line, and I personally wish that we had followed through on that.
So there she is, the vixen of death. Doesn't care 500,000 kids got killed. 500,000! She thinks it's worth it. And here she is again, lying about needing to kill more people. She's a psychopath, okay? Just so you know, I know she has a brooch on and she looks like a grandma. She's a psychopath. Madeleine Albright is a psychopath. She doesn't care how many people get killed. It's not her. It's not her kids. She's wearing a $10,000 brooch and a $5,000 jacket. She doesn't care. She's getting into a chauffeured limousine. She's going to go out for a $500 dinner, and then her butler's going to put her to bed. She doesn't care that people are being killed. She kills people. 500,000 people killed in Iraq, and she said it was worth it. That's who these people are.
It's scary stuff. And sometimes, you know, when you look at how the war starters, let's say, the people who are actually starting the wars, you know, and then when you know that war is for profit, that's how they look at things. There's no humanity. And it can be really hard to realize that there's someone or people or governments that are so heartless. They're just looking at math. And they have no value in human lives of their own country or of other countries, because you know we'll use these human lives to kill those human lives, and then they make this amount or whatever. It's just it's awful.
1 year ago, almost the exact same thing happened. There was President Trump announced he was going to pull out of Syria and de-escalate, and there was a gas attack, and at the time, Hillary Clinton called for U.S. to bomb Syrian airfields. Glenn Greenwald points it out. That was 1 year and 5 days ago. That was on the 11th. Hey, so she wanted us to bomb, missed the most qualified ever. She was the secretary. She knows everything. She wanted us to bomb Syria because of a gas attack. Well, guess what? This is from February. Mattis admits there was no evidence Assad used poison gas on his people. Lost in the hyper-politicalization hullabaloo surrounding the Nunez memorandum and the Steele dossier was the striking statement by Secretary of Defense James Mattis that the U.S. has no evidence that the Syrian government used the banned nerve agent sarin against its own people. This is a year later. This got reported in Newsweek. You think that would be the headline on every news show in the world. No, it never even got talked about. You know where it gets talked about? On this show, a Jagoff nightclub comedian show. The assertion flies in the face of the White House memorandum, which was rapidly produced and declassified to justify an American Tomahawk missile strike against the Sharat air base in Syria. Mattis offered no temporal qualifications, which means that both the 2017 event in Khan Shaykhun and the 2013 tragedy in Ghouta are unsolved cases in the eyes of the Defense Department and the Defense Intelligence Agency. You don't think Stephen Colbert knows that? You don't think Madeleine Albright knows that? You don't think Hillary Clinton knows that? You don't think everybody on Morning Joe Ball knows that? They all know this. Isn't that disgusting? It is disgusting. Here's General Mattis saying he wants proof before we strike again. But it turns out we decided to strike Syria the day before the international team for investigating chemical weapons were to arrive in Syria. The day before. And what did we bomb? We bombed where there was chemical weapons. So now we've contaminated the whole place. So now we'll never know. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis signaled Thursday that the U.S. were prepared to wait for definitive proof that Syria carried out a chemical attack before launching an attack, but stressed the moral imperative for a U.S. response. Some things are simply inexcusable, beyond the pale, not just chemical weapons, but civil. Currently, the U.S. and its allies don't have evidence that the Syrian regime carried out the attack last Saturday in Damascus. They reportedly killed 40. That was back then when they said it was 40. I believe there was a chemical attack, and we're looking into the evidence. We're trying to get inspectors in, probably within a week. Too bad. We ended up bombing anyway. Mattis was referring to the international investigating team from the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, or the OPCW. He cautioned that even if the inspectors get access to the attack sites, they are not permitted under their mandate to assign blame, but only to determine that chemical agents were used. So even that they didn't want to know. Even that they didn't want to know. They bombed before that anyway. And I'll just show you one last thing. This is from that a year ago when we bombed, when Trump bombed. Do you remember, by the way? So Trump had an adversarial relationship with the intelligence community because he was an anti-interventionist. His whole thing was we should pull out of it. And that's why a lot of people voted for Trump, by the way, because he said we should get the hell out of Iraq. We should get the hell out of the Middle East. He's the one who said that. He said we should never bomb in Syria. Trump said that. And that you shouldn't bomb without congressional approval. Trump said that before he was president. And then Chuck Schumer said on Rachel Maddow's show, he better watch what he says about the intelligence community because they have 6 ways to Sunday to mess with you back. He's talking about the president, meaning the permanent state wags the dog. The permanent state, the CIA, the NSA, they have shit on the president. And the next thing you know, they had a dossier that said he liked to get peed on, which turned out is all bullshit too. And then Trump says, okay, I'll fucking bomb. Would you guys cut it out already? So he bombed. And then this happened on CNN. Jeremy Scahill went on.
Jeremy, I think there is awareness of what's been going on in Syria, but for some reason, maybe people are desensitized. What is your view of the coverage?
Well, first of all, let's look at this in the big picture. Donald Trump has given greater latitude to the military to conduct strikes with almost no regard for civilians. Just in the month of March, Brian, U.S. and allied forces have killed more than 1,000 civilians in Iraq and Syria.
Last year, 2017 in March, the United States and our allies killed over 1,000 civilians. And now we're going to go to war over 40 people.
According to the nonpartisan independent group Air Wars, Trump is funneling weapons and intelligence to the Saudis that are being used to utterly destroy Yemen at this point. The United States has been engaged militarily in Syria for several years now, both in the form of special operations forces and increasingly conventional boots on the ground, but also just scorched earth bombing, particularly since Trump took office. And I have to say, Brian, that Arwa Damon is a fantastic reporter. I have great respect for her, but I think when we talk about this, CNN needs to immediately withdraw all retired generals and colonels from its airwaves. You know, Fareed Zakaria, if that guy could have sex with this cruise missile attack, I think he would do it. Brian Williams seemed to just be in true love with the cruise missile strike and in a despicable way invoking Leonard Cohen's name. I mean, the media coverage has been atrocious, particularly, and this is across the board on every network, particularly when the strike is happening. It's like they're in awe of the cruise missiles. And look no further than Hillary Clinton, Bill Kristol, and Donald Trump once again being on the same team. When it comes to these kinds of wars, the elite of both parties just all get in line, and they absolutely love a cruise missile strike.
Judah, any comment?
I mean, I think he said it there.
I think that's be his last appearance on CNN. I don't know if he's been back on since then.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, the truth sleeps out on and that boom. But but again, you don't see he's not on the lead. He's not on with he's not on CNN every night. Hey, we go to again great reporter Jeremy Scahill that tells the truth about Syria. Let's bring in Jeffrey Sachs. Let's also get Phil Donahue. People forget Phil Donahue was against the Iraq War, and they told him cut it out, and he said I'm not going to cut it out. So they fired him. They said it was for low ratings. At the time, Phil Donahue had the #1 rated show on the network. And it was because he was against war, but he was owned. NBC at the time was owned by General Electric, which is a huge defense contractor. So there was a lot of money to be made in the Iraq War, which they made, and that's why they shut him up.
Yeah, usually if you speak truth, no matter, not even politics, whatever it is, whoever's in power, governments, their job is usually to oppress, and that's what they do, and they use corruption. And if you speak truth and you have some knowledge, then you learn about the corruption. That's why you don't see it that often on the show.
That is correct. That is correct. And what we have are people who consider themselves lefties attacking Trump from the right. Here's Howard Dean. I call him Coward Dean. And he's yelling at Donald Trump to have a muscular response and be more bellicose and saber-rattling with nuclear power. If you had done your job consistently, this would not have happened. Why are you such a wimp in the face of Assad and Putin? He calls him a wimp. What do you want him to do, Howard? You want him to start a war with Putin? Is that what you want him to do with the nuclear power? You want a saber rattle? That's Howard Dean. Again, these people are the scum of the earth. And I think there's no word strong enough to say what was wrong with these people because they're advocating for killing people they don't even know. Anyway, so so how do I know? How do we know this is all at the behest of Saudi Arabia? Well, John Kerry, when he was Secretary of State, gave testimony in front of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and he said this.
Anything about this rumor, so I'm not going to comment on it because it is a rumor. It's first I've heard of it. With respect to Arab countries offering to bear cost and to assist, the answer is profoundly yes.
By the way, in back, those people holding up red hands, that's Code Pink. I don't know if you know who Code Pink is. Great. Code Pink is headed by Medea Benjamin, and they're anti-war. They are virulently anti-war, no matter what, in all situations. And in fact, if you're for war, they'll kill you. That's my little joke.
No, but that joke, I was actually going to say something about Trump's tweet and then Howard Dean's response to it. That's like you have like two awful tweets. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like this toxic masculinity. It's like one guy does an asshole thing, and then the other guy does that same kind of asshole thing to that guy, and it's like that's not how you defeat Trump. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah.
You don't defeat him by being a bigger asshole.
Yeah. I'll be a bigger dick than Trump.
It's like, and that's what he's trying to do. It's just this. But yeah, Code Pink is. I support them, and I think people should follow them on Twitter. But to me, it's amazing how the country, there's just not nearly a big enough anti-war movement as there should be. It seems like in this country, it seems like
I remember
with all the things that are going on, it seems like people have like forgotten. It's almost the whole game.
Yeah.
It's like you can't forget about. Making sure to be anti-war, it's just
people are forgetting to make sure to be anti-war. They're getting bombarded with propaganda from all sides. 24/7 that says we have to do this, and if you're a moral person, you'll want to bomb because you can't let them gas people.
Yeah.
So this is kind of stunning. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but watch this.
That offer is on the table.
The offer, he said, has the Arab countries offered to pay for us to go into Syria. He says they have. That offer's on the table. Gets better.
With respect to boots on the ground, profoundly, no. There will be no boots on the ground. The president has said that again and again, and there is nothing in this authorization that should contemplate it. We reiterate, no boots on the ground. In terms of what do you do if it doesn't work, I think I'll let General Dempsey speak to the question of targeting, which he can't go into in detail. But we have absolute confidence that what our military undertakes to do, if it is ordered to do so, will degrade the capacity of Assad to use these weapons and serve as a very strong deterrence. And if it doesn't, then there are subsequent possibilities as to how you could reinforce that.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And the details on the offer and the proposal on the table, what are the figures that we're talking about?
The details of the offer on the table. What she's asking is the details of the offer of Saudi Arabia on the table for us to do their military work at their behest. What are they willing to give us?
Well, we don't know what action we're engaged in right now, but they've been quite significant. I mean, very significant. In fact, some of them have said that if the United States is prepared to go do the whole thing the way we've done it previously in other places, they'll carry that cost. That's how dedicated they are to this.
He first laughs, and then he goes, they've said that if we're willing to go in and do it like we've done before, meaning Iraq the first time, Iraq the second time, if we're willing to go in and do it all ourselves, they'll pay for it all. That's how committed they are. He just said that. Because how this works is, whenever someone wants to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, they have to take their currency and turn it into American dollars and then buy it. And then Saudi Arabia takes a lot of those dollars and puts them back in our economy. Buys our treasury bills or whatever they do. That's called the petrodollar system, which is what's propping up our dollar. So that's why this is, and that's never talked about. Ever talked about. So there you go. And by the way, why are we there? This is why we're here. Because they want to, Saudi Arabia and Qatar wants to put a pipeline, natural gas pipeline through Syria that sells it to Europe. Do you see Europe's over here? They want to sell natural gas to Europe. And so does Iran. That's their pipeline. So that's what this is all about. That's part of it. Plus, also, Israel is urging the United States to intervene. So now you know the rest of the story. It's kind of stunning, don't you think? Did you ever see that video of John Kerry admitting Saudi Arabia? I mean, they just admit it.
So depressing. It's just like
it is depressing, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to fight, but it's so depressing.
It's overwhelming, and that's why we have a show. Because the news media sucks so hard. That's why that a couple of nightclub jagoff comedians can tell you the truth 100 times better than the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC. We'll tell you the truth. They're not gonna. I'm not paid to lie to you. I've been dying for someone to pay me to lie to you. I cannot wait to sell out. I will, $30,000 a day. I'll say whatever they want. But they ain't. They ain't paying me that. They're paying Chris Hayes that, Lawrence O'Donnell and Rachel Maddow, the dregs. So, Judith, thanks for sitting in. And
thanks, man.
I really appreciate it. Everybody, I want to remind everyone to check out your special.
Thank you, dude.
And America is the greatest country in the United States.
Yep.
It talks about all the stuff you want to talk about, and he does it in a hilarious way. And it's up for a Webby Award. So please go to judithfriedlander.com to check that out. Judith, thanks for being our guest.
Thanks for having me here, man. Keep doing your thing, man.
Okay, brother.
Yeah.
Please make sure you subscribe. Even if you think you are, you're probably not. Just takes a second to check, and then click the bell so they give you a notification when we drop a video. They probably won't notify you because they're trying to suppress independent news, but that's all we can do. June 30th, we're in Portland, Oregon. If you can become a patron, we give you hours of bonus material every week. And we're on Steam It. We're steaming it right now. Plus, on Saturdays, we do our Super Chat. It's a solid chat Saturday. You ask us questions, we'll talk back. That's at 2 p.m. Pacific time on Saturdays. Thanks for your support.